Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. My guest today is Drea de Matteo. I mean, the list of credits is just stupid.
You want
You
me to do
know?
it? Melissa, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
You want me to list my
Give me,
credits?
yeah. Well, The
Sopranos, Sons of
Sopranos.
Anarchy, Desperate Housewives. That's it. That's all we need. We're done. Okay.
Oh, but there's so much more. I mean, you left out Shades of Blue, A Million Little Things, Walker Payne, Broken English, New York, I Love You,
Oh, you're crazy
Joey.
right
I
now.
mean,
You're going
yeah,
crazy.
I am. It's just like you're one of those actors that it's just ridiculous.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, I just want to start with let's just call it what it is. You're a badass.
Thank
You
you.
are a full-on badass and you play a lot of badass women. So is it life imitating art or art imitating life?
Well, I think that what's funny is like on The Sopranos, I played a character who's a victim. I always play the victim actually. All those shows you mentioned, I'm kind of the victim in everything except until this lockdown happened, and then all of a sudden I'm playing all these gangster bitches, which is new for me, and I'm excited about it. I'm gonna fucking flash this right in front of everybody.
Oh yeah, but even your victims are pretty much badasses.
I yes, I mean, yeah, it's Adriana was not that much of a badass. I think that I was on a badass show, but she was like the sacrificial lamb on that show. She never really got on top of her power in any way, She was cute though. I loved her. I loved her so much.
What is it like though to love a character that much and then they die?
It was intense. It was intense. I mean, I remember when I got the script and there was a scene before it where was it Michael Imperioli goes to Tony Soprano and says, "She's a rat. What are we gonna do?" And he goes, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And I went to everybody on the show and I said, "Can you guys help me get this scene taken out? Because everyone's gonna know she's dying right at that moment instead of that car ride being so like drama filled." So I loved her so much that I fought for that character in the end, that it would end in the way that I felt was appropriate. I loved her.
But still, don't you want to run around and go, don't kill her?
I know. I had
Don't
to.
kill
It was
me.
time to go. I had to go do freaking Joey.
Talk about a bit of a mental hopscotch
I
on that
know.
one.
I know. What are you gonna do? I had to do it. My father made me do it. He said, "What? You've already played an Italian character who talks like this. You're going to be stereotyped for the rest of your life. If you don't take these roles, you are going to find yourself with no work." I was petrified. So I said yes, even to David Chase's. He said to me, "If you take another job right now, I'll be very upset. I'm actually going to put you under contract so you can't." And I took the other job, and it leaked, and he was furious with me. I had to like do all this damage control. But looking back, I should have not taken it, maybe because I didn't want to, but I got stereotyped for sure. I knew I would, but now that I'm 50, all I want to do is talk like this every day of my life.
I love the fact that you listened to your dad.
I know.
I
Well,
mean,
I
he
was a
may have
kid
been
back
wrong, but I
then.
love my dad said. It's like no matter how old we are, our parents' voice still
No.
matters.
But I was a kid back then. Everyone thinks The Sopranos was yesterday.
No, it wasn't.
Crazy. I know. It was 150 years ago. It was insane.
You look amazing. Are you drinking like newborn's blood if it was
Boost.
150 years
Boost.
ago?
Drinking vodka right now. Just kidding.
At a girl. See what I'm
A
talking
lot
about?
of lemon water. Lots
That
of lemon water.
that's the whole badass thing. That you were born and raised in New York.
Yeah,
You have a very New York sensibility, which is
very
a
much.
good thing. I was born in New York but raised here, and I get it all the time. People are always shocked to find out that I've been in Los Angeles since I was 3. What I found really interesting was you went to NYU, to Tisch School, which is very fancy, artsy, the whole thing, but you wanted to be a director.
I did. Well, I grew up in the theater with my mom. My
Right.
mom was a playwright, and she was Herbert Berghoff's protege. Uta Hagen starred in all her plays. Herbert directed them. So I grew up in the snooty theater world. And I didn't want anything to do with it. I wanted to go back to Queens, truthfully, and like steal cars. Like I wanted to live the life of, you know, the rest of the kids from Queens. I was this weirdo. Everyone's like, your mother must be a lesbian because of the way she dressed and went to Greenwich Village every night. They're like, your mother's a dyke. Because what they would say to me in my neighborhood. And I would be like, Jesus, you Italians are crazy. But yeah, I hated sitting in the theater every day of my life. I felt like, what are these adults doing playing house all day? Like, I want to be a kid. I want to be playing house. So I hated it. And I went to NYU Film School. I also was too scared to act. It felt very scary to me. So I would take acting classes for directors. And I felt like at least there I could hide behind the premise that I would never be as indulgent a person to act. I felt like acting might have been the most indulgent thing ever. You know, I was very self-conscious. So yeah, I went to become a director. And now that I'm older and now that I can't really act as much anymore, I definitely feel like that's where I need to put my focus once again. I just hope I can get there.
Who said to you, you know, you should act?
I mean, I had all these, you know, when I was in film school, all the kids in the class and the teachers were like, what are you doing? Why are you going to direct? You should be doing this. And then I would secretly be like, I love that they just said that. But I had a manager who told me I needed to act, I wasn't an actor yet. I hadn't really been taking acting classes, but someone stuck me with her. But then later on, she ended up telling me, I went and got my shit together and I came back to her and she said, you need voice classes. You need like heavy duty voice classes. And I said, okay, I'll go take voice classes. So I went and I signed up for a bunch of voice classes and she goes, no, your voice is repulsive. You need to take opera classes. And I was
wait. Your voice is repulsive?
You'll never work in this town. I had a very gravelly voice. I was a heavy smoker. I used to party a lot. You know, I was a wild young kid. And opera classes. And when she said that, I was like, I don't even know if, I was like, goodbye. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and just stick with the agent. I don't need the manager right now. Just fuck it. Let's see if this thing works. And I got The Sopranos right after that. So to hear opera classes and then to go score a job called The Sopranos.
There is some amazing irony in that.
I know. I always love it. That's my story. It's very silly to me, but it's true. I was like, who's singing now, bitch? Because I did okay with that voice of mine.
Recognize me now?
Yeah, and now I'm talking like this, no less. It's not even like in my regular voice. I have a whole different voice.
So what was your first paid job? Acting.
I would say Sopranos, but there was a job before that. It was a one-off. It was a show with Justin Chambers and Gary Dourdan and a bunch of people that were on The Sopranos, actually. The FBI agent who puts me away, Frankie Pellegrino, Tony Darrow, all of these guys. Patrick McCaffrey was the star. What the hell was the name of it? Swift Justice. It was like some cop show. And I was in one episode. Lori Tuco was my name. I had to cry and I sent the PA to go get me onions to smear on my eyes because I wasn't an actor. I didn't know what to do. I learned how to act watching my mother teach writers how to write their plays.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, she was an amazing teacher, really amazing teacher. So listening to her break down a script for a writer was the exact way an actor should be breaking down a script for themselves. So I always found that really interesting, but I did end up taking some acting classes. I did.
Whatever it is, it's worked. You talk about The Sopranos and you did a one-off. From what I've read, you did a one-off actually on The Sopranos.
I did. It was if they were trying to hire somebody as a series regular, I never would have gotten the part. That would have been like Debbie Mazar, Mira Sorvino, Marissa Tomei, all the girls that were really known for being able to do that really great accent. I never would have gotten the part. So it was one time.
What happened?
In the pilot, I thought I was going in for a show about opera singers.
Well, hence The Sopranos.
Yeah, no one knew what the script was about. So I went there with my hair pulled back in a ponytail, no makeup. They always said clean canvas when you're auditioning. I said, okay. I was in my 20s. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I went there and they were like, she's going to play Christopher's girlfriend. Like, I don't think so. So he had me read for the Russians. He had me read for every part. David Chase did. And they said goodbye. And then they called and said, hey, would she be okay playing the Connecticut hostess in the restaurant? She seems like a real snooty Connecticut uptight type. We like her because she's Italian. And I was like, okay. It was with Lorraine Bracco. I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to do it with Karen, Goodfellas.
Yeah.
You know? When I went and did it, I couldn't get my line out. One line, sorry, miss, your table's not ready, or whatever it was. I couldn't say it because I was next to Karen from Goodfellas.
Right.
I was dying. So I would never think they'd call me in to come back if the show got picked up. And I remember reading the script and giving it to my mother. And I was like, you got to read this. This is different. This is never going to get made because it's so good. It's right up your alley, Mom. She read it because it is like her writing. Mm-hmm. And we come from that world, a little bit of mafia in the background. So she was like, wow, this is beautiful. The pilot with the ducks and all of that sort of stuff. And then they called me in for the series. And I was in Queens at my parents' house, my grandma's house. And they said, you have to come in. Will you come in to do this thing? And I said, I'm in Queens. I can't come in and audition last minute. And they were like, we're in Queens. And I looked at my mom and my dad and they're like, you're going. We're taking you. I was like, well, Grandma's making chicken cutlets. My grandmother goes, I'm making a chicken cutlet sandwich. You take it with you on the road. My mother goes, I'm getting your nameplate out in diamonds with the rope chain from when I was 14. Studied my confirmation just to get my rope chain with my name in diamonds.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, you're going to do this. You're teasing your hair. Go tease your hair. Go put that makeup on. And you're going to talk like Solana, the neighbor. And she coached me the whole way there. And I had one line again. It was still a one-off just for the series now. And I got that. And then it's just, man, I got lucky. I remember David Chase came over to me at the craft service table and he's like, people think you and Michael are really a couple. I was like, Christopher Michael? And she's like, because my boyfriend's name was Michael. And I was like, really? And he said, yeah. He goes, I think we're going to write some more for you. Would you like that? And I was like, yes. I go to a payphone. I call my mom. I'm like, Ma, a payphone, Yeah,
exactly.
Mom, I know you think it's funny. I'm like, I'm calling my mom. I'm calling my dad. Everybody's making decisions for me.
Trust me. I understand that. I can relate to parents making decisions and not really that interested in your point of view about it at certain times.
Yes.
I can, but do you ever look at that and go, I mean, we always talk about right place at the right time, but how serendipitous the whole launch of your career was?
Yes, I do. I still, to this day, even at 50 years old, people still think that the show aired yesterday because all these kids are watching it now. So the fan base is young and I'm always surprised. And I don't know, like for a while I was like, what's going on? And now I've always felt so grateful for all of it. I've always felt extremely grateful for the way everything played out. And I can't believe that I got to play in this playground as long as I have. Like I always felt like it was a joke because I'm really shy too, on top of everything. It took until 30 and to be on The Sopranos and to have done that and had that under my belt, to have confidence in just being myself in the world, period. As much as I love my parents, holy shit, they did a number on me.
Again, I always say, everyone's got baggage, but let's just try and keep it to a carry-on.
Oh my God, I wish.
Like, I don't want to, no one likes standing at baggage claim, especially nowadays. You'll lose your luggage. It becomes a whole anxiety compounding exercise. I just recently started putting those air tags in my bag because I thought it would make it so much easier. That's what they're saying is when you travel, you get those air tags and you put them in your suitcase. So
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, like the Apple Air Tags. You can Google them. And so you can track where your suitcase is.
Wow.
Which is fantastic until the one isn't registering and you're in the air and it's telling you it's still at the airport.
Ugh.
If you want to see a short Jew have an anxiety attack, when you see that everybody's bags have made it but yours, you spend the next 40 minutes going, and then it's like, oh yeah, you get off the plane, it all re-registers, and you're like, oh, it made it. But if you really want to upset yourself with childhood trauma of anxiety, try that.
I got it too. I'm watching the map the whole time. Like, where are we crashing today?
Don't you? Does it make it crazy? You're like, you're watching the map. I'm like, I don't feel like we're getting any further.
I need to see the map whenever there's turbulence. I'm like, where's the map? Where's the map? Where's the map? And I'm like, what is the map going to tell you about the turbulence?
Nothing. Nothing.
Oh, so I'm over the Rockies. Of course I'm over the Rockies right now.
Oh, see, my whole thing would be, okay, if I'm over the Rockies and it crashes, who are we going to eat first? Until they find us. Who's being sacrificed? I can tell you I'm very gristly. I will not be a good snack.
I might be a good snack these days.
Okay, so Emmy fever. We're all in it, have it, had it. You've won an Emmy. What was it like when they called your name?
Oh, normally this should be the most exciting moment in anyone's life. I mean, we've all imagined winning something at one time or another if we decided to become an actor or a musician or whatever. I did not want to be there. I got to be totally honest with you. By the time I hit 30, I did have my confidence. It was probably after the fact of the Emmy too. I didn't have the confidence to get up there and talk. I would never think that I deserve anything. That comes from my childhood too, in some fucked up way. But yeah, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to get dressed. I didn't want to walk down the red carpet. I never wanted to be there on Sunday nights for any of the awards. So when that happened, it was like, I didn't have a speech prepared. I was embarrassing. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassing. But man, afterwards, I was like, did I just do that? Did that just really happen? And then I got greedy. Then I was like, well, why didn't I win the Golden Globe? Well, why didn't I win the Screen Actors Guild?
Well, am I not good enough for you people?
Oh, yeah. Then I was like, well. But I was nervous about the Emmy. I'll be totally honest with you. I was nervous that if I won an award for speaking in the accent, for playing that kind of character, that I was never going to come back from it. Because a lot of actors do, Marissa Tomei, Mira Sorvino, like it was hard, I would imagine, right after that, for anybody to come to them with different kinds of roles than the ones that they had just won for. So I definitely was worried about it. But, looking back on that, now that I'm an old lady, I'm just like, how, like, that was cool that I won that award, even though it's still on the floor somewhere in this house.
Do you, because people talk about it all the time that they do not remember from hearing their name on until they're well into the press room, that it's all a total blur.
I watched the video.
And were you happy with the video or not so much?
No, I like to, I've shown it to my kids before. I know my daughter's watched it and come to me. It's just like, she'll be like, really, Mom? Yeah, classic mom. That's your mom. Yeah. Crazy lady right there.
So do you remember what you wore?
Yes, I do. My friend Samantha Ronson picked out my clothes. I had a stylist here trying on tons of sexy dresses, and she picked this vintage dress, and she said, you look like a queen in this, and I think you should wear this. And I said, okay. And it was very simple. It was very plain. However, I accidentally put the slip-on inside out, and the dress was see-through. So the whole dress looked terrible on camera because it was I don't know, maybe you and your mom caught me.
Maybe.
That would have been awesome. I would have never been close to where anybody was to talk to anybody. I would have been as far away from any press as possible, as usual. But yeah, my dress looked like shit because I had the thing on backwards inside. Again, classic me.
When did you realize it was backwards?
In the pictures.
Oh, you didn't even go into I've gone into the bathroom sometimes and been like, shit, this is on backwards. And the other day I went out and I was out with a friend of mine and we were walking around and this woman taps me on the shoulder as I'm crossing a street and she goes, your shirt's on inside out. I'm like,
It's my kids every day.
She's like, I'm like, excuse me. She goes, yeah, the label's on the outside. I'm like, oh dear God. And I turned to my friend. I'm like, you didn't tell me? He's like, I didn't notice. I'm like, great. I have spent a whole day running around, running errands with my shirt on inside out.
My kids do it all the time. I mean, you're a kid.
Yeah.
Come on, you take pride in being a kid too.
Exactly. I've read that you don't like getting dressed up.
No.
Neither do I. What is your daily, what would you call your uniform? Like my
I don't
uniform.
even have pants on right now.
What?
I don't even have pants on right now.
But like my uniform is a white t-shirt and a pair of jeans and a pair of sneakers. Or if it's dressy, a pair of loafers.
Well, since I don't leave the house much anymore, I really just wear my leopard pajamas all over the place. Sometimes I even go to Pilates like that. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to be there for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to get some coffee at Alfred's. I'm just going to come home after that, stay in my leopard pants.
So you do Pilates for 10 minutes or maybe 30?
I do it for an hour. I'm sorry. Feels like a lifetime, actually.
So I was looking at your Instagram, and we brought it up in the beginning. I got to ask, what the hell is Gangster Goddess, and how do I become a member? Do you let in dorky people or people that wear glasses, or not red lipstick?
Gangster Goddess was our podcast that we did and we had a podcast called Made Women. They decided that they didn't want to pay us while the whole pandemic was going on. So we gave them the finger and started Gangster Goddess and continued on. But then we came up against a lot of bullshit from a lot of men.
Like what?
It's just a lot of silly behavior from silly, insecure people. So I just was like, this isn't worth the trouble, man. And I am nervous. Like what you do for a living, I would be so scared all day that I'd be saying the wrong thing and offending people on a regular basis because I have no filter. I would say anything. And that's why I love you and your mom forever too, because you guys can go down that road also. And I loved it. I was always the biggest fan. I just have to say that.
Thank you.
But I just feel like, the whole Gangster Goddess thing. I had to get rid of that. I had to stop doing that podcast thing. It wasn't for me. But now, because we were doing it, we started putting out wines, and like now we have like business. We have a perfume. We have a Gangster Goddess perfume. If you want to smell like a gangster, you can smell like a gangster with us, Melissa. Come on.
What does a gangster smell like?
Like this, right here. I haven't showered in a week and a half.
we got smell-o-vision.
It smells like musk. It's musky, like hippie smells.
Got it.
Hippie smells.
Hippie with a little bit of cigarette.
Yes, even though I haven't smoked in a while,
but that would be like a gangster smell to me.
Yeah, very noir.
Yeah,
very noir smell.
Exactly. Your new film, One Way. You brought up Gangster. It's to me, it felt like a modern take on like a classic gangster movie, but brought to these days.
I've heard that a couple of times this week. I haven't seen it yet, to be totally honest with you. I haven't watched it. I want to watch it on the big screen. So when they send you like a screener, I'm always just like, and we did it a while ago, so I don't remember everything. But what I do remember is that all these films that I just did, including this one, they all take place in one location. This is right after the lockdown. So everybody is just trying to make a film with these giant concepts, and they're trying to figure out how to fit this huge idea into one location for the least amount of money. And this one just jumped out at me. The cast is insane. It's Kevin Bacon, Travis Fimmel, Coulson, Machine Gun Kelly.
Right, I was going to ask you about him. Storm Reid is unbelievable.
Did you see it? Have you seen the film?
I have seen 90% of it until I was falling asleep, so I pushed pause on my screener, and then I woke up this morning and I was going to finish it, and it wouldn't let me back in. So I don't know how it ends. I was not.
The end is the big moment.
I was not happy because I was very invested in it.
So I can't wait to see it. But yeah, it's a full-on thriller, and a lot of people are saying it feels like an old film, which is crazy to me because it's so right now, like,
It's,
you know, with the styles and the kids and the tattoos and the this and the that, you know, it's so of today. But it's definitely, it's definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat, I guess. I don't know that. I don't know though, because I haven't seen it yet.
oh, it does. It does. And it's, I mean, we could get deep into the technique and the lighting and the use of these different cameras. I mean, there's a whole technical aspect of the movie that's fascinating to watch.
But he's an amazing director. Andrew Barrett is amazing. And I mean, everyone he chose to be, I couldn't believe that he picked me to be there.
Why? And you're amazing in it.
I haven't been acting that much lately. So I sort of was like, oh, this is cool. And especially when we were all in that lockdown, I felt like everything was over, man. I didn't think anything would ever happen again. So, and all these little projects I did right out of that, this was one of them. So it was cool. And it was cool to be the main antagonist. I'd never done that before.
Oh, you own it.
I do? Okay, good.
You own it. By the way, and then the Chalamet, and you look amazing.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks.
You're
That's
like,
important.
You're like, holy shit. That was the first thing that went through my head. Holy shit, she looks good.
Well, I said to Andrew, you better be filtering this thing because you can't have me looking like some busted up old bitch. And these days they can filter stuff. So I hope you did.
And your hair was really good, even when you were being like vicious.
Oh, awesome. That's important. It's real important.
So when you found out your work, first of all, did you know who Machine Gun Kelly was?
My son did.
Okay.
My kids knew, but for me, and I'll be totally honest, I was watching Raised by Wolves on HBO when we were in the lockdown. And when they sent me the script, I didn't look at the script. I just saw who was in it. And I said, I'll take it. And he goes, you're going to read it? And I said, no, it's Travis Fimmel. He's the guy in Raised by Wolves. I said, I'll travel anywhere in the world to put a gun to his head for no money. So just sign me up. I am going. Let's go. He's like, you have to read the script. I was like, I don't have to fucking read anything. I'm going. I'm going to put a gun to his head. It'll
be fun. That'll be a good day of work. Yeah. And Kevin Bacon is phenomenal as always.
I had to have my 6 degrees. It was a rite of passage.
Exactly. So your son knew who Coulson was. Most people do not know that Machine Gun Kelly's real name is Coulson. And you know, people walk onto sets and you think, oh, dear God, you know, I don't want to call him a pop star. I don't want to call him a rock star, but he is very much an impactful musician in this exact moment in time. He's but you got to walk on with all these pros and think, okay, this kid's going to have to prove it to us. Did you have trepidation about that? Because you guys interact, not necessarily face to face, a lot.
I didn't. First of all, I heard he was amazing in the film that he had done before. I'm always open to everything. Like I never sit in a place of judgment because when I walked onto the set of The Sopranos, I knew nothing. You know, like Michael Imperioli, I always joke around, like he taught me how to act. I always would say that. So if anything, I'm there to disarm anybody because I've been doing this for so long. So if he would need me to be, but he'd already been in that role for days before I got there. And I was afraid when I saw him. You know, I didn't want to rehearse it. They wanted to rehearse. And I was like, Andrew, can we please not rehearse? Can I show up into that bus and that's the part that you missed at the very end. And I want to see him for the first time. But, you know, you can't do that for 50 takes because you still have to do 50 takes of something. But every time I saw him in that part, my heart broke. You know, I knew what my backstory was with him, which was pretty twisted and messed up. And I don't want to give too much away.
Don't give it away.
But I mean, you know, I was his boss and some other things. And I was also dating his father. Like I got my dirty little fingers in everything.
Yes. You're a very twisted mother figure.
Yes, for sure.
A
I
fair.
love telling my son what my 11-year-old son what my relationship is to him in the movie, and he's always like, "Jeez, mom." I'm
So
like, "Yep, that's your mom."
my son gets it for 2 generations. So
Yeah.
if your son talks back and goes, "Ugh, Mom, just going, I know someone whose kid has grandma and mom, so back off." Do your kids ever, only because I remember I would be horrified when my mom would show up at school looking like my mom. And I know Cooper would be horrified. I mean, just because it's part of being someone's kid and teenager, you're always kind of cringy, with
Look,
your
I'm lucky.
parents.
I'm a single mom, so they
Hi,
love
honey.
me so much. You too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they love me so much. Like they have so much respect for my journey and my battles and my everything at this point that I'm really lucky. And they're also, I said to Blackjack yesterday, because we were at the dentist, and the lady behind the counter was like, you look just like, Adriana from the Sopranos. And that happens a lot. Like a lot of times it won't be, is it you? Or it'll be like, you, because no one thinks it's really me. Probably because I still look the same.
By the way, me too. They always think it's someone I went to high school with them. I know you, but I don't know from where.
Totally. And I'm always like, oh, it is. Blackjack looks at me and he goes, what kind of day are we having? Are you going to tell her the truth? Or are you just going to let it go? And I'm like, what do you want me to do? He goes, I'm just going to talk for you from now on. So they love it. And I said to him as we walked out, I go, how do you feel about this? Does this bother you? Is this an issue? And I've asked my daughter, because your daughter would have different feelings than the son. They love it. They love it.
You're so like, because I remember I would show up at Cooper's school. When you go into work, you usually roll in sweats and wet hair or whatever, because you go into hair and makeup and they dress you and you're
Right.
there. And then you go home, and I would go over to Cooper's school and be like, especially if you come from like a photo shoot with like hair, makeup, but then I'm still in like ripped up sweats and a pair of Uggs. And you could just see him going, oh God, Mom. And I understood that too, because he never felt that way about my mom, where I felt that way about my mom. Grandma could do nothing wrong.
Right.
Grandma
Yeah.
was just cool.
Listen, my kids with my mother, because my mom has dementia now. So she is like batshit crazy. She's not in the final stages of it. She's been in this middle stage where she will walk over to someone's dinner table and be like, that looks good, and eat it, and like, start talking to their children and then start dancing with her cane. And I'm like, this, and I look at my kids and I go, so how do you guys feel about this? And they're like, this is awesome.
You're very lucky, because I still do things that make Cooper cringe.
Oh, my daughter doesn't even want me to touch her now.
Okay,
I mean,
she's a teenager. She's 14.
She's 14. I try to grab at her. I mean, because I am a psycho Italian mom. It really has become the only life I have at this point. I have put so much focus and emphasis on these kids that sometimes I lay in bed and I think to myself, what am I going to do? Like, because I can't act that much anymore. So this is what am I going to do when this is all, when they move out? I'm going with you.
Yeah, I curled in a ball, and I hate to admit this, but I do. I slept in Cooper's bed for like the first 3 weeks he was gone.
Oh,
and then I took his pillows and put them in my room.
Oh, no, wait, did he go to college?
Yes.
Oh, so you have a big boy.
He's 21 now.
Oh, does he still let you hug him?
Yeah, I can hug him. They're boys. It's a very different experience. Your son, Blackjack's still young enough that he still wants mommy, and he still wants the closeness. And then all of a sudden they're just like, back off.
Oh, I'm going to die. Like I say things to him like because I can still pick him up because he's tiny. And I go, what am I going to do when I can't pick you up anymore? And he goes, I'll carry you.
Oh.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then we always have our bath time where he takes a bath, and he doesn't want to take a shower. He's 11. He still wants to have a bath. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll hang out with you. And I look at him in the bath. It's our time to laugh and listen to loud music. He likes to listen to Eminem while he's in the tub. And I said to him, dude, what are we going to do when this is over? What are you going to do when there's hair on your balls? And he goes, nothing. I'll put a bathing suit on. Who cares? We'll still hang out and talk like this.
Yeah. The underarm hair is it'll make you cry. That
Oh,
and when they start to smell, but you're crying for two. You won't need that onion on set.
I hear that. But I have a daughter, a teenage girl, 10 times worse than a boy.
Yeah, see, I didn't have a girl, so.
Oh, it is intense.
Yeah. And I now, still to this day, I have to ask permission about posting pictures on Instagram.
Oh, me too, with my daughter. I don't post her anymore.
Right.
I just stopped. I was like, forget it. I won't. I just won't show you. And then everyone's like, why do you keep showing your son and not your daughter? I'm like, do I look like I'm playing favorites? Like, she doesn't want to be on it.
I get it. It's you feel like you're having to like pay for the rights somehow.
I know.
So now
she got rid of Instagram and is only on Reddit now. This is the kind of daughter I have. It's pretty awesome.
It's awesome. There's also something new that I didn't know about till a friend of mine's daughter showed me. There's some new thing. I can't keep track. So you've been engaged since 2015?
I've been engaged many times.
Right, but the most recent. The most recent to Michael Devon from Whitesnake.
That was over about, oh my God, years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
That's not that long.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been with another guy since then.
Are you engaged to him?
Yeah, I'm engaged to him too.
Are you?
See my collection of engagement rings.
Amazing. Do you keep
unparalleled? Do
you keep them?
I got them all.
Oh, my mother would love you. Somewhere above, she is smiling because she had a joke where she used to say, if you get divorced, if he wants the ring back, pull out the stone and swallow it, because no man will look through shit for a diamond.
Let me just tell you though, these diamonds have all been in my family, just reconfigured.
Oh, that's not right.
They've all been in my family because, we had some big diamonds in my family. And I was like, if I'm going to wear this ring, I'm going to wear this ring the way I want to wear this.
So none of those cheap fuckers bought you their own diamond?
Not really.
That's not okay.
Although Shooter, when I was engaged to Shooter, it was a ring that Waylon gave Jesse. Coulter.
Okay.
So that was cool. And I kept that I kept them all for my daughter.
Very nice. She realized she's going to have like a lot of earrings and pendants and rings. Do you think you are actually ever going to make it down the aisle?
So funny. Speaking of all these engagement rings, I would like to. I would like to at some point. I don't know. It's just like I think when you're an actor and you sign all these contracts and you're always so worried that you didn't read the fine print, you sort of feel like that with a marriage. Like, if I was married to the father of my kids, that could have been so ugly. If we had to go through a divorce, and we were never married. So I really got to, figure this thing out on my own with my kids. I didn't want to have a judge decide what was best for my children. That's for sure. So we still could have done that. That still could have happened. But I hear all these horror stories of divorces, and I just don't ever want to be in that. But, the reason why I have so many diamonds is I have a box full of diamond rings that were my great grandmother's. She was the only abortionist back in the 50s in Harlem. So people would pay with their engagement rings, because the engagement would be over once she got pregnant. She was now a putan. She had to use her ring to, for her baby, to have her,
Right, I get it.
So I have all these diamonds, tons of diamonds.
My grandfather was a GP, and he would always treat whomever, and he never, people couldn't pay. My mom remembers people showing up with food all the time at their house. And she's like, not food. She's like one step away from like someone showing up with a crate of live chickens. She's like, it was insane.
My grandmother got paid once because her daughter, my grandmother, it's my great grandmother who was the midwife, but her daughter, my grandma, they said she was a hair soup. Like, she was covered in hair. She was hairy, a hairy woman. So in order to pay this one woman back for one of her abortions, she moved into my grandmother's house and started doing electrolysis on my grandmother for a full year.
Wow.
So my grandmother had electrolysis from head to toe for a full year. I was like, that sucks.
That's amazing.
I know. Oh, the 50s.
Do you ever
The good old days.
Do you ever think about writing a book? Because you're so fascinating and your family is fascinating. And I think there's just so much. And I know that's part of being an actress too, is everyone likes to keep everything private and draw from it.
I mean,
But
a big mouth.
But do you think you'd ever write a book?
My mom was a writer, not me, but she wrote something. She's written plays about her family forever. So I have a catalog of them and she's never published them. And I want to do that for her. But she did write a show about her family that we sold to HBO right after The Sopranos. And they bought it in the room like that, check in the bank within hours. That's how badly they don't want us to go anywhere else with the story. And then they made Boardwalk Empire and gave us the show back because our show was period piece, 1950s Harlem. But when you have Scorsese showing up to do Boardwalk Empire, you're going to choose that. So I got it and I was cool, but I never fully pursued it again. I dabbled with it with the few people that were interested in it were cool, like Christine Vachon and lots of, cool executives liked it, but then we never really went the distance. But now that this whole thing just happened in society with all this craziness and hypocrisy, and I sort of feel like we're living in the McCarthy times all over again, maybe just reversed in some ways. But I feel like it's a good time to revive it. So I've been thinking about it, especially now that there's not so much acting to do these days. So.
Oh my God, I would totally watch. I'm scared to ask this as I always am. What's next?
Well, Melissa, because I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. I've decided that I'm not going to lie anymore.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, it's about the whole, society. I'm a crazy hippie. You see, I got hairy armpits. I'm sitting in my long hair. I haven't showered. I also did not get vaccinated, so I can't act anymore. So I've just been waiting to see if things change. So that's why we have the perfume that we're promoting right now and wines and things like that. Because I'm not allowed to step into my playground anymore for a while. And it's kind of broken my heart. So
even if you're PCR tested, because I know when I'm working, literally we get tested twice a week. PCR.
Yeah, I think that the studios, with the indies, it was okay, but there aren't that many. They don't really, there's not a real paycheck in that, so I like being on TV. I like doing a series, completely a full-on series. So studios it's just closed down. Screen Actors Guild has closed it off. The studios have closed it off. So it is what it is for now. I'm hoping it'll change, but things seem to be lightening up a little bit. But it definitely took me for a ride for the last 2 years. Okay, I've been living in fear,
Oh my God! But you were saying you're not going to lie. So what is next besides the perfume, which I'm dying to smell? I want to smell like a gangster. I want to be as cool as you, and I'm so not.
We're gonna send it to you.
I'm so not. Like, how do I become as cool as you?
Oh my God! You know what? You guys are pretty cool where you come from, man.
But still, I'm always just a quivering wreck. So okay, so you want to revive? You want to revive the show?
All I do is quiver all day long.
Oh,
but I do want to revive the show. I think that would be a cool thing to do. But nobody wanted to make it for years. People were afraid of it. They wanted it. They took it because they knew it was such a challenge and it's a flashy script. I mean, it's big. My family was the first people to bring heroin to the United States with what's his name? Was it Escobar? But my grandfather was. I'm not bragging about these. These are terrible things, obviously. But the world of my family was insane. And the way my mother wrote it was beautiful. And it's also funny. It's like The Sopranos. It really was like a cross between The Sopranos and 6 Feet Under, because you have this revolving door of women coming through. And they deal with so many issues, like, especially with this whole abortion thing, it runs the gamut. There's no, we don't take a stance on where anybody should stand on that. We kind of understand everybody's perspective. Like when the mafioso brings his lady in and says, I want this baby taken out. And she says, this baby's 8 months pregnant. This baby's 8 months. You can't terminate this pregnancy. And he's like, you better, I'm going to put a gun to your head.
Right.
So, there's all these sort of, weighing of things. It's intense.
Well, I cannot tell you how excited I was to talk to you, and you did not disappoint. You are fucking amazing and so cool. Like, I'm like, that's you. I want to be that cool. I want to be that gangster.
Come over. Come and hang out. Look at this guy.
Yeah, look, see, I've got my little collared shirt, you know.
Well, I like your necklace.
Thank you. Isn't that cool? And I specifically wore this ring for you, which I bought for myself years ago. And you can't see, but it says Thug Life on it. Just to remind me for all the fancy that my family has become, I still grew up backstage in Vegas.
Listen, the two of you and your mom, and that's all I know. I don't know the rest of your family, but you two are the true embodiment of gangster goddesses to me.
Thank you. Dre, this has been unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.